Hello, senior parents. My name is Dusty Lanier, and I am a 2006 graduate of Wake Forest University. And it is my honor and pleasure to get to come to this campus every single day and to get to see your students. We are so excited and cannot believe that it is your final year with us here at Wake Forest, but we know that you will be prepared and your students will go out into the world and do amazing things. I mentioned that I graduated in 2006, and in many ways, Wake Forest is just the same as it was 20 years ago. But there are a few things that are quite a bit better than when I graduated. And one of those is our Office of Personal and Career Development. Over the last 15 years, we have really seen an innovative change in the way that we support our Wake Forest students. I get the great pleasure of meeting with colleagues from universities across the country, and it is a true distinctive. Everyone asks about how we are preparing our students to go out into the world and how they're so career ready. And tonight, if you don't already know, you're going to find out a little bit more about that. Now, and they are capable, and I'm here to tell you, if you don't know already, that over the last decade, that 96% of our students have been employed or in a graduate program within 6 months of graduation. And then the class last year, it was over 98%. So I feel confident that your students are going to be ready and employed and probably have those jobs before graduation. The purpose of tonight is to address any questions that you might have about how your students can access the Office of Personal and Career Development, and also share some tips about how you can support your students to be career ready. I'm about to introduce our Vice President for the Office of Personal and Career Development, Andy Chan. If you haven't had a chance to meet Andy, he is a true treasure. He came to Wake Forest in 2014 when we recruited him from Stanford Business School. He is an entrepreneur and an innovator and has really taken that to heart as he's helped to develop many of the things that you will hear about tonight: our college to career courses, our alumni opportunities, our entrepreneurship program, our school for professional studies, and the list could go on and on. But I'm going to stop there and let Andy introduce himself.
Hello, Dusty, and our apologies to you all if you had any technical difficulties hearing from Dusty. And just know that her energy is like her bright light shines brightly for Wake Forest, for your students, and definitely want to just welcome you to this webinar. You know, each year we hold a webinar like this to talk to parents because we really care about making sure that parents know what's the pathway for their student, can find ways to be less anxious about the process, knowing that your student is in good hands. And if for some reason they're not as engaged as you might like, how we can help them get engaged in the process. As Jesse said, all of our students over the last decade, things turn out really well. It does take time. It's different for different people. The process is very different, but they will be fine. We can really assure you of that. So I have two of my top leaders on our team. They're both associate vice presidents. One is Mercy E. Adiel, and the other is Heidi Robinson. I'm going to have a short discussion with each one of them to talk a little bit about what's going on in the marketplace, and then also what's going on with the students and what we're doing with them, but also what you might be able to do with them too. So there's Mercy and there's Heidi. I'm going to start with Mercy, and I will probably go for about 10 minutes talking to her, and then I'll come back over to Heidi. And then after Heidi's going to have a set of students who she has gotten to know and is working with, and from all different walks of the Wake Forest experience, to share a little bit about their experience and actually their perspective and advice for you as parents out there. So let's start with Mercy. Mercy, I'll let them all know that you oversee all of the career operations in the business school, both undergraduate and graduate. And then on top of that, you manage our employer relations teams, which works with thousands and thousands of employers each year, hundreds who come to the campus and recruit our students, both in person and virtually. And you and I have worked together for a long time, both here at Wake Forest and then also at Stanford together. So Mercy, welcome tonight. And I'll let you say a few opening words, but maybe the first one that everyone always asks about is, what is the current state of the job market for students who are looking for jobs now and who are going to be graduating this coming year from college?
Well, thank you all for having me join the call, and hello to all the great Wake Forest parents out there. I always like to start out by saying Wake Forest parents are really the secret to a lot of our success when it comes to employer engagement and helping us to get connected with new relationships that we haven't had before. So let me just start out by saying thank you. Thank you for being interested in what we do to help support your students and to learn more about our process on the employer relations side. This particular team is a university-wide function. So as Andy mentioned, we service both the undergraduate college and business school, and we also serve the graduate arts and science and graduate business school populations as well. So when you look at the total population of students that we support, it's roughly around 6,100 students. So there's a lot going on in terms of the employer relations team. We do a lot of outreach and business development type of activities to make sure that we're recruiting from the best of employers out there who our students want to go and work for. We have hundreds of events on campus every year. Literally, this is one of our craziest times of year, but it's also one of our most rewarding times as well. We also do a lot with what we call a career readiness funds, where we actually try to support students with funding for professional development and attire and experiential learning, particularly for those students who are in need. When we look at what's going on with the economy, this is such an interesting time, and I'm sure a lot of you are following the news and hearing differing reports and just try to make sense of it all. And so what I can share with you is our experience at Wake Forest and what we're seeing in terms of the market. There are three things that we typically look at in terms of indicators as far as what a healthy job market, hiring market looks like. So one is the number of jobs and internships that are actually posted in our handshake system. So currently, when we look at the past year, because a lot of our information is reflective over 1 year, we had about 122,000 jobs and internships on our system. When I first started at Wake Forest, just to give you perspective, that was around 3,500 jobs annually. So it's about a 4% increase in terms of a year over year look with how we're doing with jobs and internships. The other thing that we look at is the total number of employers and students who are engaged in our recruiting events. Now, we're just getting started. It's October 10th. And so far, we've already had over 100 employers attending our career events. We had our fall career event, and then we also had a Diversity Always Matters event. And between those two events, we had over 100 employers. We also look at student engagement. And this year we had record-breaking numbers of students attending our events as well. We've already had over 1,300 students from all class years and all programs and majors attending our events. The other key thing that we look at is our first destination outcomes. This really tells us, how did last year's class do? So we're looking at the class of 2023, and we continue to support the class of 2023 well beyond graduation. And so we look at grad, 3 months post-graduation, and a 6-month snapshot as well, which is coming up in November. So far, what we know today is that 93% of our students have achieved what we call their first destination. They've either accepted an offer or they're going on to graduate school. And the split between those two is about 70% employment and 30% graduate school. So we're super excited about our students getting out there, finding those jobs and graduate school opportunities. And we look forward to telling you our final report in January, where we close out the class and say, this is where we landed. And we're typically, as Dusty said, between 97 and 98%. And we've been that way for roughly as long as I've been here, which is 12 years. And I don't plan on breaking that trend anytime soon, just so you know. So that's what the hiring outlook looks for our students currently.
Mercy, it sounds too good to be true, given the inflation and all the uncertainty in the economy, there's sort of just the craziness of what's going on in the world. Are there certain sectors where things are looking better versus worse that actually might be helpful to give people some information about?
Definitely. So when we look at, there's probably 4 or 5 industries that are really strong right now in terms of we're seeing a lot of jobs come through related to these spaces. So the first one is anything in e-commerce. So if you think about Instacart, Grubhub, Square, these are all really healthy organizations in growing areas as well. Anything in healthcare, and it's not just the nurses and the doctors or the research assistants, it's the non-technical careers that really sit between the physicians and the nursing care staff, between the business operations. And so there's a lot of jobs that are non-technical. If you think about health services, how to match a patient with the appropriate doctor. So there's a lot of customer care type of jobs, marketing, operations, and project management. Other areas, definitely technology. While you are hearing some of the tech companies reducing some of their workforce, where they're growing is in areas like AI, chat GPT, cloud computing. We also are seeing a lot of movement in cybersecurity as well. Two other ones that I'll mention is education. You're probably familiar with the fact that there's a lot of online providers, ed tech space, really needing to hire folks to do work for them as well. Project management is a big one in that area. And then consumer packaged goods, if you think about companies like Unilever or General Mills and how they're trying to increase their footprint globally, there's all kinds of jobs that are available through those different employers and also sectors.
So one of the things, though, at the same time with these, those are the good ones. A lot of our students go into finance and consulting, and I think we're getting we're facing a little headwind in those sectors. Maybe is that what you're seeing? And then what are what are you seeing we're telling students to think about doing if you can't get a job in these areas, or, what should you do alternatively?
That's great. Well, we are definitely taking a very close look, watching it week to week in terms of financial services and consulting, because those tend to be bellwether industries around how everybody else is doing. So far, what we do know is that our companies that typically recruit in these spaces are still going to come back to Wake and recruit. The one thing that they have shared with us is, depending on the point in time that they're hiring, they may be pulling back some on the number of offers that they'll be making, but they will continue to come because they do believe in investing for the future. It's just they may not be able to invest as much with some of the deal flow and client work slowing down. So those are two areas. Now, what we encourage students to do is to take a look at tier 2 organizations. When it's a healthy market, there's a lot of opportunities in the tier 1 banking and consulting areas. So I'll give you 2 examples. And these are not necessarily in banking. You would think of someone like Fifth Third Bank that has a very healthy investment banking arm, Truist. These are examples of organizations that are great organizations for Wake Forest students to take a look at, and where we actually have deep alumni and parent networks as well. Other examples in consulting are groups that do a lot of market research, whether that's in banking, financial services, consulting. And so you can think of companies like Protiviti, Alpha Sites, and the Link Group that does a lot of market research as well. They may not be household names, but they are certainly phenomenal companies that are really growing and love Wake Forest students. Andy, I can't hear you. Okay.
Sorry about that. I cough every once in a while, so I'm trying to avoid that. But
No problem. No problem.
I appreciate you mentioning that, mainly because there are a lot of companies who actually have had a history of hiring a lot of Wake Forest grads who they get those jobs and go there for 2 or 3 years, and it becomes a launching pad to go into many other interesting jobs afterwards, both smaller and bigger, more consultative, more intensive investing, or whatever it might be. Like, I think people think you've got to go to like the big brand name company to start. If you don't go there, like everything goes downhill from there. And actually, we have found over time, it's actually not the case. It's actually, a lot of it does really depend on the person's both interest and capability, but also the state of the job market, and that, getting into a job market where maybe that particular sector isn't so strong, it might feel like, oh, I can never get there ever again, but we haven't found that to be the case. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And the thing that I believe most of our employers will tell us is while they have a limited number of spots, so there's three things. The recruiting cycle does not end while you're at Wake Forest, right? So there's a lot of just in time hiring needs. They hired a certain number of people in their class, but in the end, there was something that may have happened and maybe a few students decided to go elsewhere. And so the thing that's really important in these situations is to really stay connected, especially if it's like your top choice employer. And I always say, stay connected appropriately, but don't be annoying, right? So just check in from time to time. The future is connected, meaning, if you're going to get that job that you really want, you have to really focus on building a strong network, ongoing, not just when you need something. The second thing that I will say is to go ahead and get a job or an opportunity where you're building the skills and competency that are needed for the organization. Most of the time, employers are really looking for how did you spend that time in between graduation and now, and what are the key skills, competencies that you've gained. And I think the final thing is, never underestimate these small companies. Andy, you and I met with a company during the career fair, RVO Health. I mean, I hadn't heard about them, right? But apparently there's a ton of alums who work there. It's an extension of a company called Red Ventures, and their growth trajectory is amazing. And we've got a lot of students who are interested in healthcare. And this is actually a health information network. So it does cut across a lot of different skills and opportunities that you can build in the healthcare space alone. So be strategic. It's hard to tell students to be strategic if they're not familiar with, how this process works. But this is an area where our coaches and folks on our team can sit down with our students and really help them navigate a strategy with a longer term goal to get to that dream organization. It may not be your first stop, but it certainly could be a stop along the way. And we want to make sure that we're helping students be strategic about how they go about their searches.
Thanks, Mercy. As always, I have way more questions to ask you, but I've run out of time. I'm going to go over to Heidi and ask her a few questions, and then we'll have the students and we'll come back to you during the Q&A.
Sounds great.
Thank you. All right, Heidi. Well, many of you out there if you don't know Heidi, you've heard her name before. And if you haven't heard her name before, she is, she's like the person of so many trades. She can do so many different things. I like to call her sometimes like the Pied Piper, because if you're on campus and she's walking around, there are always students following around her, just asking to say, can I get some advice from you? Or would you like to go get a cup of coffee or take a walk on campus? Like, everyone just knows Professor Robinson because she just brings a smile to every student's day. And she really is an amazing person. She basically worked with me now over a decade. The first thing she did was create basically the college career courses, which are really powerful courses that hopefully your student has taken. If they haven't, Heidi will talk a little bit about the 360 course in the spring. That's probably available or possible as an option. But the main thing is that by doing so, we're one of the few schools in the country that actually have 4 credit or credit-based courses that you're actually learning about the career development process. And the students who go through that process really are empowered to set their direction, gain more clarity, have more confidence, and it really set a model for how we do all of our coaching, how we set up like a lot of the way we teach things. It's also available online in a product called Career Core that Heidi also developed. And it is really, really, really effective. There are actually other schools who even buy it from our partner Kaplan in order to get access to that material. So Heidi, I have a lot of questions for you, so I'm going to stop. I could go forever talking about all the things that you've done, but let me go to some of the questions that I know that oftentimes parents ask. So if I have a senior who hasn't yet begun the process, what should I do? Is it too late? Should I be anxious?
I'm excited to answer that question. And B, I just want to first echo what Mercy said. We love your students. We care about them. We care about their outcomes. And this question in particular is a great place for us to start. Thank you, Andy. Let me just off the top say, not at all. For many organizations and opportunities, recruiting hasn't even started and won't until January or later in the spring. Now, that doesn't always sound like a great option because, of course, our students are planners. They perhaps come from long lines of folks who plan well, and it would be wonderful if everything was locked down now. And some of the opportunities that will come in the spring are those that are most compelling to our students. Yes, we have management consulting recruiting that goes on now, some financial services as well, but there will be other firms who may be in consulting or adjacent to financial services who will also be recruiting in the spring. We were talking today, and our spring career fair, brace yourselves, is in about 100 to 110 days. That's crazy. But these are all folks who will be coming back to campus or will be coming for the first time because they know the quality of your students and they want to recruit them here. So while I would say, yes, things are happening now, it's really for a very small percentage of our seniors. Now, once you know someone who's gotten their job, people tend to say, oh my goodness, comparison trap. I should have mine now too. And to the degree that you can help your students understand that that's just not the way most things will necessarily unfold for every different kind of industry, that will help them. And it will help them take a breath and make some good, authentic choices for themselves.
That's great. Appreciate that. It's sort of related. So sometimes a student might have majored in something that doesn't feel like it has a direct connection to the workplace.
If I had to guess, I think I know the question that Andy Chan might ask. So I'm going to jump in to see if I can go ahead and carry the ball down the field since we are in football season. So one of the things that I would say, and my guess is that Andy's about to ask me, what do I do if my senior is in something that they love to study, but they may not yet see what that application may be? They may not yet have connected it directly to what their outcome may be. Friends, I cannot say enough how much I want you to bookmark 2 different spots. One is the OPCD website. And when you go to our homepage, what I would love to have you do is to scroll down to the tab that is marked, Where Do Deeks Go? Please, I invite you, click on that tonight. It is a gift for senior parents and for all of our students, really, because there's a spot there where not only can parents go ahead and see where students go with specific majors, students can also see that. You'll see that it's alpha ordered from accounting all the way down to sociology and beyond. And students can go ahead and use that tool to sort of begin to get a feeling for where students go if they are in communication. And what does that look like versus something like econ? And could they search by their minor? Speaking of searching by minor or major, the other thing that I encourage students and parents to do is to go to the Wake Forest LinkedIn page. You'll know that you've gotten there when you see our beautiful quad. The magic tab is marked alumni. And what happens is that you can sort this by what people studied. In fact, that's how LinkedIn characterizes the idea of majors. So you'll land on that page on our Wake Forest alumni spot, and students can go ahead and sort by geography, by major, by all sorts of different things, even the skills that they have gained through their major. And often that lets them open up some of the opportunities and the kinds of things that may interest them. Not only that, but it opens up some options for tapping into our network. One of the things that I invite every student to do once they go ahead and begin their time on campus, but certainly to confirm as seniors, is that they have joined our LinkedIn groups. So there are 3 key groups that I encourage our students to go ahead and explore. Now, there are more than 3 LinkedIn events that are LinkedIn groups that are related to Wake Forest, but the 3 places to start would be to ask to join Wake Forest alumni, to ask to join Wake Forest University Career Connectors and to explore something that is called Wake Now, or Network of Women. Beyond that, I would ask students to join Wake Forest alumni in different geographic areas that are of interest for them. There's also Mad Deeks, which is related to, of course, Madison Avenue, PR and marketing. And then there are things like Wake on Wall Street. All of these are places where students can go ahead and begin exploring opportunities, but where they can also go ahead and start connecting with our network. Since I'm speaking of the Wake Forest Alumni Network, what I would love to do is go ahead and speak to that for just a moment. Just this week, last night, I received a LinkedIn message from one of our alumni who is in New York in sports marketing entertainment. This was what he said. Can we connect this week so that I can begin to help current students explore opportunities in sports marketing and entertainment, possibly media in New York? I answered, of course, a very hearty yes. And so that is one example of how our alumni network just goes ahead and reaches back out because someone reached out to them. So using those groups and really leveraging LinkedIn, but then also going ahead and joining those groups so that students can go ahead and message for free. And beyond that, I would say the other key spot that your students know about, but you may not yet have explored, is something called WIN, the Wake Information Network. There's an alumni tab where our students can go ahead and search by name for an alum and find their contact information. They can also search by company to find out where our folks are, our allies, who might also be in companies of interest. So that was a long answer to two very different questions.
Heidi, I know that you work with your students to access the alumni network in the career courses. Can you talk a little bit more about the courses and what might make sense for students graduating later this year?
Absolutely. I can't emphasize enough the benefit of taking a college to career course. And that's because you know as well as I do that your seniors are very busy. All of our students are. The beauty of taking a college to career course and having this as an option for them is that it carves out time for them to do the work that they want to do anyway. Our students want to do this work, and what the college to career courses provide is not only the gift of time, but also a very structured way to go ahead and do some of that work. It ties them into our offices in a very key way, so that they are actually utilizing fully all of the resources that we've gotten for them. In the spring, there is a course titled EDU, that's for education, the department where they are located, EDU 299, which is called Career Planning. It's one of the overview courses that was original when we started this curriculum, and 299 is for seniors and for juniors who might go ahead and need that jump start to go ahead and get them ready for that January career fair, or even for going ahead and networking for the kinds of opportunities that matter to them.
Heidi, we've talked a good deal about students seeking employment and some of the changes in the job market lately. I know a significant number of students also go straight to graduate school. Can you talk about how the OPCD would help those students?
Absolutely. And just from the numbers and the data that we have in our office, we know that approximately 30% of our graduating classes, vary slightly year over year, but that they are interested, about 30%, in graduate or professional school. And to the degree that you hear us saying words like job search, all of those different things, please know that you can sub in grad school or professional search as well as jobs or internships or anything else that your student might be pursuing. So how do we support them? One, we have a close relationship with our Office of Academic Advising. And that is particularly helpful for students who might be pursuing something like law school, because there's a pre-law advisor there. Additionally, we have 2 people on our staff who really specialize / are passionate about personal statements. So personal statements are something that is a really useful tool to have that second or third set of eyes on, so that that application is tight and ready to go. We can help students with timing. And the last thing I would say that is a real gem for our students, and something that they are not always aware of, is that we have a special relationship with Kaplan that provides test prep. So your students can actually go ahead and get what I would almost call a coupon, but it's certainly a discount on taking things like LSAT prep, the GRE prep, or MCAT prep, whatever it is that your student might be pursuing. They can go ahead and have access to that while they're here at Wake Forest. And it takes off somewhere, depending on which exam it is, it can take off between $200 and $300 off of something that they have. The library also has some free resources for test prep.
I know that we want to see every student throughout their Wake Forest career. Some students start early, some not so much. If a senior is just getting started, or maybe hasn't taken action yet, what do you suggest they do now to begin?
I appreciate that. When I work with students, I'm with students every day, whether that's in the classroom, whether that's out somewhere on campus, or whether that's here in our offices. One of the things that I think is really important for me to remember is that this process is ambiguous. Students want very much to have an outcome, but the process is something that seems very mysterious. So the smallest little bit of momentum moving forward can be the thing that makes the difference. So for those students who may not yet have that momentum built up, truly progress could look like coming into our office hours on Thursdays between 3:30 and 5, when students can drop in without an appointment and get help as much as they require, which also might just look like going ahead and getting set up on their handshake profile. It might look like just crossing the threshold of our offices. So that is one piece that I would say is really helpful. And then the other piece is for students who are sort of exploring what they are interested in accessing in terms of resources, we also Monday through Friday have drop-in 15-minute appointments. That's a great way to dip your toe in the water. And those are, again, Monday through Thursday, but they're from 1:30 until 4:30. And what I would really love for them to know is that they don't have to have things figured out to come on in and see us. In fact, we believe that it's very real and authentic for them to be in that exploration stage, and even to be pivoting where they'd like to go as they walk through this senior fall semester. So we want to be alongside them and to go ahead. We're going out to their groups to find them. But if we haven't found them yet, know that we are interested in helping them also start gaining that momentum.
So
And
the student knowing that there are people here to help is one element of it. And another thing is that the student sort of taking action can limit their stress. I guess I have one more question before we hear from some of the students that joined us this evening. The whole process of figuring out what comes next, it can be a little stressful for parents too. Any thoughts on how parents can navigate this stressful time, either for themselves or with their student?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing, sort of your lead into this question, Patrick, is key. The smallest action helps alleviate a lot of anxiety. So whether that looks like students coming in to us so that we can go ahead and get started, or whether it's one of their, what we call adult fans, those folks who are very invested in them and their outcomes, their parents, and the folks who also care about them, to say, hey, how can I help? Believe me, all of the seniors are thinking about what that outcome will be for them. And that's on their minds, whether they're talking about it or not. I think open-ended questions about what are you exploring? And again, back to how can I help? Those are really great conversations to have. I've heard Andy tell parents before, and I think it's wise counsel, that going ahead and refraining from, though it's difficult, listen, I'm a parent too. It's difficult from having a commentary or asking too many questions that might for that student feel as if they are in a space of judgment. I think staying in that open place and just going ahead and encouraging your student to go ahead and keep asking questions and to explore, that is some of the best support that they can get. And to remind them they just don't have to do it by themselves. So many times students have a lot of these thoughts and questions are up in their head. And to the degree that we can help them articulate them, that also helps lower that stress. Once that comes down from, say, high stress to somewhere in the mid-range, students can get some things done. So I think that support and encouragement is also key.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am going to step away from the camera in just a moment as we have 3 students joining us, VNA, Santino, and Elise. And I think hearing their perspective and their voice may also be helpful to our guests tonight. So students, if you wouldn't mind turning on the camera and the audio.
Thank you, Patrick. And thank you, Elise, Santino, and VNA. There is really no better representative of our school than our parents who get to, there's no better representative for our parents than our students, and that is you. And I know each of you as seniors are very busy and also the best people to tell this story. So I'm delighted to see you. I'm grateful that you're here. And what I'd like to do first is invite you to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then to go ahead and, if you will, tell us where you're from and what your major is.
Go ahead and start. Sorry, my name is Elise Farrell. I am from Roanoke, Virginia, and I'm a communication major with double minors in entrepreneurship and bioethics.
Hi, I am Santino Marucci. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm also a communications major with an entrepreneurship minor.
Hi, my name is VNA. I am from Houston, Texas, and I am a double major in communications and Spanish, and then a minor in education.
What a theme that we have running through here. Our wonderful representatives from our liberal arts, and actually a great place for us to start. Because I think that you probably heard me discussing earlier that for some of our students, there are things that are in the recruiting phase or season right now, and other things that are coming in the spring. What I'd like to hear is sort of where you all are in this process right now. Elise, would you like to kick us off?
Definitely, yes. So as a senior in the fall semester, I am highly looking towards consulting jobs, specifically healthcare consulting. So that means my recruiting season is right now. We're smack dab in the middle of it. And that's definitely a very busy time of the year as, fall in the consulting recruiting rounds. But, with a lot of encouragement from the school and the career fair and so many weight connections, it's been okay and pretty smooth.
You have been very classically Wake Forest, right in the center of it, Elise. And that's a great example of sort of thinking about the seasons of recruiting and interest areas. VNA, would you like to share your story next?
Yeah, so I am not consulting. Was a little bit wondering about it, but I was like, no, I don't think it's my thing. So I'm more of a marketing and PR type of person. So my season is still not here, so that's more in the spring. But nonetheless, I have taken the steps to start now, just because you never know where that job can come from. That is something that I learned from Heidi. Like, every company requires a PR or marketing team, so I never close myself off to any possibilities. So just with the career fair and diversity always matters, it's just about like putting myself out there and just practicing those soft skills. So when my season does come, I just feel like fully prepared for that.
Nice. So creating some momentum now so that you're ready when the thing does happen. When you see that one thing that catches your energy, beautiful. Thank you. Santino, how about for you?
Yep. So being a student athlete, I play football and I'm on the football, or I play quarterback on the football team. I graduate in May, but I also have 2 years of eligibility left for my football career. So right now I'm not looking directly for a job, but my intentions are to look at graduate school, most specifically law school. So with those 2 years of eligibility after I graduate, it would give me a lot of time to study for the LSAT and look at all the options of where I would want to go to school and things like that.
Wonderful. So a great way of thinking both about the grad school and about the full-time job areas that both or all three of you have really been engaged with. What I would like to ask you is, for parents, what advice would you give them to support their seniors?
I can start too. I feel like senior fall is definitely a really overwhelming time of the year, and a lot of people are running around talking about offers they may have or interviews they may have, and that creates a stressful environment. And something I found to be really helpful is just scheduling that meeting with someone in the OPCD, whether it's Heidi or Patrick or someone else, and just making that plan. I'm a really plan-oriented person and a to-do-oriented person. So having that list of what I can do to better situate myself when your recruiting season comes around, or maybe even just going in and, coming up with 10 to 15 jobs that would be a good fit for you. Something else I would really recommend is, having that conversation with people that are in the industry you're interested in, because then you're able to really concentrate your search or maybe your cover letter on something that you would, be happier doing postgraduate.
Yeah, going off what Elise was saying, the first thing I would say is just take a breath. It's going to be okay. There's a job out there for everybody. And more importantly, regardless of what your major is, there is such a wide range of job opportunities for anybody that's at Wake Forest. I mean, it being such a prestigious school, these people who want to hire you, they love us. They love us as students, and they want to have us as employees, regardless of what field that is. So I think that is a big part of it.
My advice would be, firstly, like, it is Wake Forest, work forest, and like Elise was saying, like, this is our like very crucial part of our semester, especially as seniors. And like they were mentioning, you do hear things from like, oh, I got this offer, or I'm doing this and that. So we get a lot into like those comparison types of things. So I think as a parent, being able to provide an ear or like advice of like how not everything is bound to go your way, and like rather than like pressuring them into like, how many did you get or anything like that, it's more like, okay, like where can I help you, and just build an understanding that like failure is a part of this like thing that we're taking part in. So it's just reminding them that like the world is not gonna end because they did not know like this one specific interview or whatnot. And secondly is highlighting those alumni connections. Like alumni really truly love us and will go out of their way to be able to put us at the top of the list. So to always remind them to not be shy, like it's, you might not know them, but you can start today, so it's just as simple as like sending a message, and they're always so eager to talk to us. So make sure to like tell them to utilize those connections.
I just can't tell you how my geeky little career heart beats faster and happily and with joy to hear all of you say how much you know that you have people around you, our alumni, our office, who are supporting you. Knowing you as I have through the arc of your career at Wake Forest, which is also a joy, I'd love to know this. And you all started in our office and in our courses at different times. I'm interested to hear what you wish you had done differently, or things that you consider your success stories, your success strategies.
Yeah, definitely. Just to kind of echo, I mean, you'll hear this repeatedly throughout your Wake Forest time, but the power, and as Heidi was just saying, of our network. I mean, I have cold called, cold emailed hundreds of people, and the amount of people who are so out there to help me. Um, and while I definitely have been told this throughout my Wake Forest experience, it's not something I really took advantage of until I would say first part of my junior year. But now being really in depth in the job search, I wish I could go back and start doing those cold calls earlier on, because, the list, while the tracking spreadsheet you keep on everyone you talk to could be much longer now if I started that truly my freshman year and doing, one a month, two a month, or something like that. Also just to learn about what you want to do and, what kind of projects people are working on in different spaces.
I love that. And VNA and Santino, I'm coming to you in just a moment, but I wanted to jump in and reinforce something Elise just said, that we have built a networking tracking tool that students can download from our website and go ahead and track who they have, who were great connections and people who said, call me back when, and Elise's hers is color coded. It is quite beautiful. So yes, I just wanted to let folks know that that is there for your child as well. All right, VNA and Santino, I'm going to mute myself so you can jump in.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
you can go.
you could go.
You got it. You got it.
Okay. I was gonna say I did come into the office pretty early on my sophomore year, but being a first generation student, I definitely believe that that was not a leg up, but just rather getting even with like my fellow peers in a way. So like that in itself is my success story. But another thing I think I would say heavily is being open. I think that has been like my biggest takeaway of like Heidi always telling me like don't close yourself off and always just kind of do more of like that self like reflection of like, what do I really want? What do I value? What do I like to do? And learning that you can really love the job that you do. That's the thing. People love what what they do for a living. So I think that is also like my biggest like takeaway of just like staying like really open-minded to all the possibilities that are out there.
Yeah, so for me, I actually stumbled upon the OPCD in a summer management program that I was taking over the summer in the month of June, and that was the first time I knew about it. I didn't really know about like LinkedIn or Handshake or any of these professional apps that people have been using since they were freshmen. Being a student athlete, when I first got here, I really didn't think of my career after college. And the hard truth of it is, most of student athletes do not go to the professional level. And with that being said, I think having such an emphasis on knowing what you want to do and doing the things to do that is really important. And yeah.
Getting started, Santino, that's what I hear. Creating that momentum
Yep.
that we were talking about, getting started somewhere, whether it's the summer or whether it's the fall, that going ahead and starting that momentum is one of the success strategies. And I love how you just phrased that. VNA, Elise, Santino, thank you all. And thank you for being such inspiring stories, but also being such wise humans. I will see all of you very soon. Thank you for being here. And I think we've got some time now for some Q&A. Andy, I know that parents have gone ahead and submitted some questions. And so what a great time for us to go ahead and hop in with some answers as we are.
Thank you, Heidi. And sorry that I dropped off. My computer died there, but I was able to figure out how to get back. And Mercy, if you're able to join us, that would be great too. I just want to ask you a couple other final questions, just a couple quick thoughts. So one, Heidi, I'm wondering if I have a student who maybe their GPA is maybe not so great, and they're like trying to put together the resume, but feeling a little bit sheepish about putting their GPA on their resume. How should they think about that? And how do they, obviously we would always say, come to one of our resume reviews and we'll actually help you out. And that would be the key. But if they happen to be talking to their parent about it, what would you say the advice would be in that situation?
That is such a great question. And because it is such a set of high achieving students, students are often, even students with a 3.6, I once had a student say to me, "Oh, it's too low. I can't put it on my resume." And employers, people who are networking with our students know that Wake Forest is a hard school. We often say hard to get in, hard to get out. Students learn that work ethic honestly. If a student has above a 3 point, we typically say, please make sure that employers can see that you are above a 3. Please put it on your resume, because that is an achievement. If someone is working toward that 3.0, we might say, go ahead and hold for now, unless the employer needs to see it and they say that they stipulate that in part of their application. Now, does that mean if you're below a 3 and you apply for something that you won't get an interview? No, because we have had students who are below that 3.0 threshold go ahead and get the interview and make it to the second round without that GPA. So it really is about being willing to go for it, but then also being very strategic about what that looks like for the student as an advantage.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Heidi. Mercy, I want to ask you a different question. So one of the things that was mentioned, and you've actually answered in the Q&A too, off on the chat room sort of Q&A board, is this idea that there are quite a few jobs that fall under marketing, project management, operations, things like that. And those sound like things that I needed to have gone to the business school to learn those things, so I can't get that. So I'm going to come back to you, Heidi, in a second, but I want to hear Mercy's point of view, because there are some ways where students can get additional education through the business school, like our MSN program, et cetera, that maybe you can highlight a little bit if you happen to have a senior who maybe was going down one path and then realized, no, I'm not going to do that path. And now it seems sort of late. How do I get a job now? Because what I studied doesn't really work to the marketplace. I didn't do all the right things when I was back in college. And so now I'm sort of stuck. And maybe you can talk a little bit about some of our master's programs that we have in the business school and how appealing they are to liberal arts students.
Definitely, I'm happy to. So there are 3 master's level programs that are considered pre-experience. So you can come straight out of undergrad into this master's 5th year program. The first one is the MSM, Master's of Science in Management. We have a Master's of Science in Business Analytics. We also have a Master's of Science in Accounting. And believe it or not, you don't have to have accounting courses to actually be qualified. You just have to meet a certain threshold in terms of GPA and the types of courses that you've taken. And there's a lot of career pathways for these pre-experience programs as well. What we find for our typical liberal arts students is maybe they don't have the confidence around their business skill sets. And I'm a diehard liberal arts student working for a business school for most of my career, almost 30 years. It's hard to believe. I know I don't look that old, but anyway. And what I would say is it's a lot about confidence, and these programs equip our students with the skills and competencies that our employers are looking for, things around teamwork and collaboration. So in the business school, a lot of our academic experience is around teams and working on your leadership skills and working on skills like analytics, understanding marketing fundamentals, finance and consulting, operations, et cetera. And so the students that come in the front door in these programs are, you don't even recognize them by the time it's graduation. It's amazing what a 10-month experience like this can do for your students. One of the things I think Santina mentioned, and I know I'm talking to parents who are seniors, but the summer management program is the program for current students who are looking to get more business background. I will also mention our School of Professional Studies that is located in Charlotte, but they do have several certification programs in digital marketing, analytics. They're working on cybersecurity. They're working on risk management. So there's a lot of interesting programs in the portfolio of Wake Forest that, whether it's a degree program or you get a master's or you get a certification, there is typically something for our students to go on and get more education if so desired.
Great. Thanks, Mercy. And Heidi, related, what would be other things that you're recommending in class or that students are using that allow them to get competency development, skill development, experiential learning projects and things that students can do during the school year and not even have to wait till, next academic year.
That is one of the untapped treasures is our LinkedIn Learning, which Wake Forest sponsors, pays for our students, which is incredible. I talked with a student yesterday who said, I didn't take accounting. And I'm like, don't you worry. Great if you did, but if you didn't, you can go on LinkedIn Learning and get a certificate in accounting that goes immediately onto your LinkedIn profile for free. Well, yes. And they were amazed. They can also do that in Excel or R or project management. In fact, they can get a whole certification in project management. It's amazing. The other thing I would say for seniors who are looking to build their skills is don't discount on-campus opportunities. Right now, Campus Rec is hiring for social media. They're hiring for social media content. They're hiring for leadership and marketing, all sorts of great opportunities. Sports marketing also hiring. Great things. And those are just a couple of examples. And then last but not least, I would say, make sure that students are telling the story of their academic successes on all of their personal branding material, to include their senior thesis on their resume, on their LinkedIn, making sure that they have their projects from their minors there. I could go on and on, Andy, but I know people have to get to dinner and all.
That's great. Well, one final just question. I'll start with you, Mercy. If you had to give one word of advice or encouragement to parents out there, what would you say?
Well, I can't stick to one, so I'll do two. One is it's not too late. I promise it's not too late. If your child is having any challenges, please send them to us. We want to see them. The second thing is we have an online virtual career fair on the 19th of this month. So tell your students about that. And there's plenty of jobs, employers that are actually interviewing students online. So we encourage them to participate in that event.
Thank you. And Heidi, how about you?
I will also try to keep mine tight, but I would first echo one thing that Mercy said, which is if online is the best way to get some momentum, you can do it. We have an online workshop that is also working class. So you're motivated students can actually get their resume done and get feedback. It's called Wake Your Resume. It's every Tuesday online and every Wednesday in person right here. And then I would also say there's something called Career Corps, which we have referenced briefly, but it is a wonderful resource that your students can do a self-paced career course as they need to or as they are so led. So those are two of the things. And then I would also say the same thing that Mercy just said, which is we're with them. Our relationship is with them now, and our relationship is with them after they graduate. So they've got a team. I know they've got you and they've got us too.
That's great. Well, I want to echo the same one as Mercy said. It's not too late, even though your student will tell you they think it might be, and that it's actually never too late. I mean, we can take a student from ground zero in spring semester and help them get clarity, confidence, and get on the pathway to getting a decent job. Like, I know that you might think that's not even possible, but actually it has happened, and we do it. And as we said, we look at the graduation rates as every school does as to by 6 months after graduation. So that's probably the other thing is, I tell students this when we see them, is like, if you have a goal to get a job at graduation, then create a plan. And who do you have that's helping you make that plan? And if they don't have that clearly as a goal and they haven't created a plan, they're going to have a hard time doing it. So if you actually talk to them about that idea of being a goal, coming to our office to help them develop a plan is key. You can't do it alone. I think that's really the most important thing to know is this is not a do-it-yourself process, especially given how complex actually it is. And for students, and hearing all the noise in the social media and their friends, it can be really confusing. So we really want to be there to help them. They all have very unique paths. They're all doing different things. We want to honor them in that, but that we're really here for them. We have a lot of people, resources, and ways to help. And so we hope you'll be able to steer your child our way. The number one reason why students come to our office is they say, because I want to get my parent off my back. So it's totally fine. Whatever pressure it takes for you to actually get them to come to us, we're willing to take them. So we're very, very happy that you joined us tonight. I do also want to say, if any of you are at work at a location, or investors or board members at a company that wants great talent, it could be for summer, it could be part-time, it could be full-time, it could be alumni. Like, we have great people, and that's something that we can say our employers tell us over and over again. We'd love to actually help you. So if that is the case, please reach back out to us through Dusty or Mercy in particular, because she oversees that employer relations team. And we'd love to actually have your company have some Wake Forest talent working with you. Thank you very much. We hope you have a great evening. We look forward to seeing you, if not before graduation, definitely graduation, but hopefully before then. Take good care, everyone. Bye.